Thank you. I'd like to remind everybody here who took an oath that those oaths are still in effect from the prior session. And let's see, first item is invite the inspection committee to present its report, and I have that. The BCA members who were part of the inspection committee were Richard Lucier, Sherry Bradley, and Anita Allen. The property, the location was 64 Covered Bridge Road. ID number OTH 07001, owned by Paul Cutting and Michelle McManus. The inspection date was August 11th, I believe.
Yep.
At 9 a.m. And observations of the committee were: the exterior conditions appear below average. Windows, door sills, soffits were of concern. The roofing consisted of metal and shows rust. Two-car garage with cement floor appeared to be in average shape. The foundation consisted of both stone and cement. It appears the house has been added on. The back of the house had a cement floor, while the front section appeared to be supported by wood beams. Some areas appeared soft to walk on. Many sections of the insulation appeared dark and possibly moldy. And due to the conditions of all interior surfaces, it appears to need intensive renovation. That looks like she's got a question afterwards. That's not part of the.
No, they can ask that question. Sherry can.
Okay, so invite inspection report, invite final questions from the BCA. Are there any questions by the Board of Civil Authority on the?
No, we do. Paul, maybe you can answer this since nobody else is here. The yard.
It's just a yard item.
Yard item.
$3,500.
Is that the driveway, the pavement, what is it?
I'm sorry, it was.
It says $3,500 for a yard item. Nobody's here to accept that you.
Bill is on Zoom,
Oh, okay.
but I don't know if you may have to come up here. I'm not sure if he can hear you fully.
You can repeat it.
Can you hear us, Bill?
I can. I've got a little bit. I think you're asking what the yard item was. That's the garage.
Oh, okay, that's the garage.
Yes.
And that's valued at 3,500.
Yes.
And the other question we had is that I thought the land was 4 acres, but according to this, it's only half an acre.
Not quite.
Not half an acre, it's valued at $31,000. According to what we have here, is that right? How's
That
that?
would be right. That would be correct. Yes.
Yeah, he says that's correct.
Can we ask how they get that figure?
For,
How they get half an acre is $31,000.
That is based upon what we saw in sales when we did the reappraisal. You have to remember, it isn't just the land. When we put a value on the site, it's the water systems, it's the septic systems, it's the landscaping, it's a foundation hole in the ground, and it's a half an acre of land in the village. So it's all of those things added up together. When we do our analysis, we felt as though that was a reasonable price to see. There are very few lots that will sell at a half an acre, but you can do a process that's called a residual technique, where if you look at a sale price of a house, you can run a cost analysis and say, well, okay, how much would it cost to rebuild that house? And then if I depreciated that house, depending on how old it might be, I'd have a value of the structure. So if I then took the sale price and minus the value of that structure, I'd be left with an indication of land value. And that's a process that we use a lot of times in towns like yours, where I'm not going to find small lot sales. I have to use residual techniques to try to figure out if a house sells for $125,000, how much of that is land and how much of that is building, to break it down.
that cover your question, Richard?
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome.
Are there other questions by the board?
Paul, what did you for that place?
26 is changed.
That's what- I thought you said something different the other night, and they said no, so I just want to clarify for my own.
Yeah. that was it.
Anything else?
I have no more yet. No
You have
more.
no more questions yet?
Well, no, I don't. I have no more questions. I don't know about Richard.
Any final comments from Paul or Michelle?
No, I mean, this isn't a big deal for us anyway. I'm just kind of curious.
And any final comments from the assessor?
No, I think we'll stand on what we had to say the other night. It'll be fine.
With that all said, we will close the hearing, explain that the BCA will enter deliberative session and will issue a written decision in writing within 15 days. So you'll get a written response. And that takes care of this hearing. We'll close it.
And the gavel slams.
Best I got.
Yeah.
It's okay.
They don't provide me with one.
No.
Some pop and a little bit of syrup.
Thanks for,
Thank you for
thanks for
coming,
coming
Paul
in,
and
guys.
Michelle.
Okay.
Hi, guys.
We'll see you later.
This next page next.
You can use that same one if you want. Just
Oh, we're
remember to
doing-
just do Casella.
Casella.
So
Are they on the-
Casella.
Are they on the box?
Yep.
So we will now reopen the hearing for Casella. And I invite the inspection committee to present its report. Again, reminding that all prior oaths are still in effect.
Okay, on August 19th at 10:30, we went and inspected the property of Casella located at 21 Landfill Lane and all adjoining properties included within the grand list owned by News VT/Casella. Our BCA Site Inspection Committee members present were Don Hunt, Pat Sloan, Anita Allen, Sherry Bradley, Carrie Keemet, Deb Tangway, and David Gallup. Other town officials present at the tour was Matt Maxwell, who's the town administrator, and people present for News VT/Casella members was their attorney, Andy, and their tour guide, Shane. The site inspection committee met at the office at the entrance to the landfill facility. News Vermont Casella provided a bus for the site inspection, and one of their employees has a tour guide around the facility. Site inspection started at 10:30 a.m. We commenced driving southerly up the landfill road and stopped at the maintenance facility. The garage consisted of 3-stall building capable of holding semi-tractor units, large equipment, and appeared to be in very good structural shape. There was a large white dome tent structure out back, approximately 40 foot by 60 foot with 2 bays that appeared to be in fairly good condition. There were several portable storage containers as well that appeared to house additional parts/items lined up in back of the maintenance garage. We continued up the east side of the perimeter road, encircling the current pit or cell, a bustle with dump trucks, excavators, bulldozers, and other construction/landfill equipment, then turning northward on the further side of the landfill site. We stopped at the first leachate pump house on the further side and examined the interior setup and machinery located within. The pump house appeared to be well maintained and in very good condition. This pump house sits on a prominent point overlooking the current operational cell. Pump houses collect and move leachate from the pits to the collection silos. We continue to view similar pump houses heading on the tour that served earlier cells. These buildings appear to be well maintained and in good condition. We viewed the 2 large blue leachate silos next to the operations building where it is systematically trucked offsite to waste treatment facilities in different communities. Both the silos and the operations building appear to be well maintained and in very good condition. As we toured around the landfill, we observed the grounds and mechanical piping that emerged from the landfills. Some prior cells contained a black layer of plastic over the cell, while other cells had been seeded and growing grass. We did not stop at the methane plant as that particular function was not subject to this report. However, the plant building appeared to be very well maintained and in very good condition. We completed the landfill facility tour and was en route to the airport road to view their other taxable properties. We viewed 6 residential properties owned by News VT/Casella. We did not enter any of the residences, rather just observed them from the tour. 3 of the homes were tenant occupied and the other 3 were not. Most seem to be in good/fair condition, with a couple appearing to be below average condition, as these were not inhabited. We did view some barns that were currently being leased to a local farm, with heifers being on the premise. We observed their new office conference building that was recently renovated. Being newly renovated, this building appeared in excellent condition. We continued to view additional farmland and additional farm buildings that were not being utilized. Farmland next to one unused farm was being used as a collection point for soil that was being removed from the landfill as they dig new cells. There was a constant flow of large, heavy equipment traversing the airport road. We observed a fenced community garden which provides apples, berries, and honey to local residents. This garden was built and maintained by News VT/Casella employees, and residents can enter at their discretion. There was also a deer enjoying this view outside of the fenced area the day we toured. Even though there was a constant hustle and bustle from heavy equipment coming and going, it appeared the deer was not affected by all the noise and continued to enjoy its surroundings. We ended the tour back at the landfill facility as we passed the solar field, which is currently leased to a solar company. Both the solar field and the landfill facility appear to be well-maintained and in very good condition. On the tour, the committee did notice an abundance of smells emanating from the landfill or methane plant. Did not notice an abundance of smells emanating from the landfill or methane plant. Any smells detected appear to be in relation with normal landfill operations. And that was the end of our report.
Are there any questions regarding the report or the tour or other issues from the BCA members?
I want to know, one of the questions we were wondering is the dome building, the tent dome,
That Quonset hut type.
is that taxable? Is it a movable structure or not, or is it taxable?
They're typically taxable. I mean, I'd have to take a look at it to be sure, but I mean, we can go and take a look at it next year, but it's relative to the value, it's pretty small potatoes, but we will take a look because a lot of farms you see, if I'm dealing with the same structure, I think is that sort of what we call a hoop barn. If it is like that, then it should be picked up and we'll go take a look next year.
Well, certainly there were big cement blocks seeming to be a foundation type setting for the tent around the framework.
I'm thinking from the first time we visited, there's a lot that's been done there. A lot of new buildings. We never had to visit a house. Seems like there's a lot of development going on there that we didn't see our first visit, whatever that was, a few years ago.
I don't think there's a lot going on. The houses have been improved off and on to some extent, understanding that you're not required to get a permit for interior work, and they keep them up. But the last time I saw them, which was a number of months ago, you know, they're kept up fairly well. The ones that are occupied, the ones that aren't occupied, I think they try to keep them from being vandalized or anything like that, but they kind of stay about the same.
Yeah.
Was the purchase of the whole property done fairly close in time to the purchase of the landfill, or have those additional properties with homes and farms just kind of accumulated over time?
They accumulated over time.
I think Connor can probably answer that better.
Yeah, I just got an answer from one of the board members.
They were accumulated over time.
Yeah, and I don't have the exact dates for all of that. So if we're talking about, you know, when we refer to them as buffer properties, the residential properties surrounding, you know, I don't know when those were added.
Well, it would make sense to me that as things grew, properties got purchased up. That's enough I need for an answer. Any other questions or comments from the board?
When was the last time we went? The tax that we base it off now, when was that done? Like years ago, was it like 10 years ago when we did the tax base and now we're changing it? Or people are going in and checking it out? I don't know if I'm phrasing that question right.
You mean the assessment?
Yeah,
The last time it was assessed?
well, where did it start? You know, because it was at this amount and now we're up here. So somewhere in between, has this been assessed
What's-
over the years or no?
I think the only time it can be.
Every property gets assessed periodically when you do a reappraisal in the community. So although I can't peg when let's just call it $10 million value is set. I don't know the exact year, but I'm sure it was done during a reappraisal or thereabouts. Now we just did another reappraisal in 2021, at which point, just like we updated every property value in town, the landfill was updated for its value also.
But certainly back when we had our own listers and we were not contracting out assessments, nobody would have had the expertise here to
No,
give any kind
I
of
doubt that.
value, I would think.
Yeah, I can't answer that for sure, but no, I wouldn't have thought that you had. A lot of times back in those days, and make it sound like it's like back in the ancient times, but a lot of times the PV&R out of Vermont would assist the listers in trying to come up with values, just like they did with cell towers and solar things and things like that. So I'm assuming they got some assistance more than likely from the state maybe on it. I'm not sure though.
Dave, did you have a question?
I was thinking the only time we can do an assessment on them is when we have a reappraisal, townwide reappraisal. I believe that's in our contract with them.
That's in the contract with Casella that we can only do it when there's townwide.
Reappraisal.
Bill, refresh my memory. Did they meet with you prior to us meeting?
Yes.
To see if you would adjust their taxes?
Oh, yes, they went through a grievance process.
In any way, I can't remember. In other words, like Paul, you brought his down $20,000.
We didn't change Casella, no.
That's what, okay.
I want to make it clear, just like it was likely beyond the expertise of your listers way back. It's beyond my expertise also. I mean, I probably have a better understanding than maybe they have, but I am not an expert. But you hired an expert in Skip Sansucci. I read his report. I spoke at length with Skip about his techniques and what it is that he did. And I think the feeling is that, this is what the town hired him to do, was to hire an expert to establish the value, and that as long as we accepted that value, then we should move forward with it. And that's the process behind it.
Now, Connor or Andy, do you have the actual date of when your appraisal will be coming in yet, or is that still to be determined sometime in September?
Sorry, I think I can answer that. And apologies because I have kids eating dinner in the background here. We have the town's council, Brian Monahan, has scheduled a formal mediation with a professional mediator that will take place in September.
Okay.
We do not yet have a formal appraisal completed yet. And there is some information that we are in the process of providing to him. So I expect that it will be certainly ready by the mediation, if not prior to that time. But unfortunately, if we had the appraisal now, we would certainly want to give it to the BCA because we have a very strong disagreement with Mr. Sansucci's methodology and opinion of value, but we're just not in a place to do it yet.
Okay.
But you're thinking that will be in September, or how firm are you on that timing?
That date has been set.
Yeah, we're firm. We scheduled this mediation several months ago. I apologize, I don't have the date at the top of my mind, but I could dig it up But we certainly intend to have our appraisal ready by that date because we intend for the mediation to be a productive one, and we understand that we need to be able to show our appraisal for that to happen.
Okay,
It's September 27th.
Okay.
anything more from BCA? Sure, you good?
Who do they do mediation with?
His name is Michael. He's an attorney. We've dealt with him before. We used him as a mediator for the utility cases a few years ago. He's pretty good at what he does.
So are they mediating with you and Casella?
With the town in Casella. So I would assume that Brian is your representative. Brian has asked that we be available or be there. I'm not sure which. I think it's kind of still a little bit up in the air as to how the town will be represented beyond Brian. So, and I hope that the BCA doesn't get the wrong opinion here. It seems as though a decision's been made and we don't care what you have to say, which I apologize for that. The comment about a mediation has already been scheduled, as though your decision doesn't mean anything, because it does mean something, ladies and gentlemen. You have the authority. So please, I hope that didn't sit poorly with you.
Oh, I don't think that's the case at all. And
Okay, thank you.
we're all in a learning process with this, and the size of the numbers is mind-boggling. So we want to make sure we take all efforts to get this right.
Do our due diligence on our end.
So no, don't feel you're offending anybody or putting us out of our job.
Yeah.
So what's the end game at the mediation? If you guys are going and our lawyer's going and they're going with their lawyer, is this something they're gonna hash out and then hopefully come to agreement between them?
The end game is that they agree that $58 million is a good value.
I agree, but.
I don't know what else to say.
Well,
Having a meeting here.
unfortunately, if the town deer are going to eat our vegetable garden, we want credit for the piece.
I know, because every time I go for blueberries, somebody's already stuck.
All right.
I can speak very briefly just to the procedural piece to this. Bill is right that you perform a very important service. And if timing were otherwise, we would be appearing before you with a fully formed appraisal and our expert presenting to you. But that's just, it wasn't possible given the timing of things. But the reality is that the numbers are so big, and the disagreements may also be so big that once you go through the municipal process, if one party or both parties are unhappy with the outcome, then the next step is likely a litigation. And so the purpose of the mediation is to try to avoid that.
Right.
And so we're hopeful that obviously we would love for the BCA to reach a value, an opinion of value that is much lower than Mr. Sansucci's. Are we expecting that to occur? Not necessarily. The mediation is set up so that by that time, once we have all of our information gathered and can present that to the town, hopefully we can have a very productive conversation.
Okay.
Good. Any other questions from BCA? With that, then Andy or Connor, you have opportunity to final comments from the appellants.
I don't have anything additional.
Okay.
Nor do I. We just wanted to be available in case there were questions that we could potentially answer.
Okay, and that moves us to final comments from the assessor.
We're good too.
With that, we will close the hearing, and the BCA will enter deliberative session. And we will issue a written decision in writing within 15 days. So this hearing is closed. I did get
Thank you,
a.
Andy and Con.